Welcome everybody to episode 112 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. The NBA season is almost upon us.
So close. So close.
Much basketball. So much basketball. Should we get stuck straight into it? Do we want to just explain to everybody what we're doing this week?
Why not cut to the chase, hey?
It's like our equivalent of a preseason assessment or prediction, or I wouldn't call it a prospector's guide. Wouldn't go that far, but it's our opinion. It's definitely our opinion on things.
So instead of a season preview or a prediction of who's going to win how many games or the over and under, it's basically just going through all the teams. So we'll do the first 15 teams this week and then the second 15 next week. And
is there an order to which the teams have been selected?
Yeah, so Atlanta Hawks, Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets. So alphabetically from geographic location.
Nice.
But then to save characters, I put them in as Hawks, Celtics, Nets. So
that's why they don't look alphabetical, but they are alphabetical.
That's right.
It's amazing.
In my head, it makes sense, Ad.
Oh, look, I understand it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that it doesn't look alphabetical, but it seems alphabetical. It feels alphabetical.
Some days I get super lazy, and instead of writing Cleveland, I'll write Cavs.
Don't say lazy. Just get cryptic. Cryptic.
Or efficient. You could say efficient.
There you go. Efficient. Yeah, I like it.
All right, so our goal is to have 1 minute each on each team. So then hopefully this episode will be 1 hour or less.
And you'll be welcome when this goes for 3 hours, because I can't help myself.
Before we kick off today's podcast, we do need to recognize and thank our sponsors for supporting our show. So thank you so much to EJ Cards for your constant, ongoing support. The Traders Day was today. It was an absolute fantastic, enjoyable, fun-filled family experience. And I think everybody that turned up just had a really lovely time. So congratulations to Jules. Congratulations to Rob. You should be proud of the day that you've put on and your staff there. It's a really great environment. So I had a wonderful day, guys. Thank you so much. I think the other person we need to yell at too is the Hobby Hangout staff. Hobby Hangout is in Melbourne, 19th of November, so it's creeping up, guys. If you haven't got your tickets, go to thehobbyhangout.com.au. Darcy from Palms Off Gaming, Doma and Sauce are going to be there. Omar from One of One Memorabilia Cards, Trident Collectibles, Neon Card Breaks are going to be breaking live. Adam and I will be repping You Can't Comp This. We'll be podcasting live. There is a heap of stalls there. EJ Cards will be there, Big 3 Collectibles, Tenju Games, Palms Off, The Feisty Lizard, Mailman Breaks, Fast Break Trading Cards, Mercury, SJ2K Neon Trading Cards, Arena 1, One of One Memorabilia Cards, Midnight Traders. It just goes on and on and on. Heaps of stalls. Get down and check it out, guys. And enjoy the show.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just get into it.
Let's get into it. So this 3 hour pod, we try and get close to an hour.
I'll start with the Hawks because you were a little bit upside down on this one. But for me, the obvious one is Trae Young. So he slid so far that it's just not even funny anymore. So at one point, do you sort of say this guy actually is a really good buy?
I reckon he's an amazing buy.
Yeah.
So spoiler alert, I've done the preseason ranking thing, and I think this is I was on a friend's podcast this weekend, which will probably come out next week. Anyway, the first thing we were talking about is how good the Hawks look in preseason, and Trae Young is a man on a mission. Have you seen some of the stuff he pulled?
So I think that there was a power struggle between Trae and John Collins, and we know who won that. But the downside of that is I actually think John Collins is pretty talented. So when you lose that much talent, and I don't think they got very much back for him, it puts a lot of pressure on Trae. So he's either going to make it or not make it this year. And I think it's as simple as that. So his silver PSA 10's at 200. I think if you're looking at what he's been at the past, this is the lowest it's basically, you could almost argue, ever. This is basically as low as his rookie year. That card was up to 3,500 at one point. If you sort of take sort of an average price, it was around 1,100 for a while. Look,
yeah,
I think if you want to bet on big talent, I think that's really good.
Then I think Trae's a good, but is good to look at for sure.
Yeah. Looking further down the roster, the two other ones is Jalen Johnson, but the one who's definitely caught my eye the most is AJ Griffin. I'm pretty high on this kid. Look, there's nothing actually on Card Ladder for this guy. It's too soon for that, but I
Mhm.
found a couple on eBay. So there was a optic variation orange ticket number to 25 that went for $76. That's on card auto though, so that's sort of something that's, you could argue, a little bit higher up.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something that's on a little bit of the cheaper end, a select red cracked ice that sold for $1. So you can get this guy if you're on a budget, you'll definitely be able to get something cheap for this guy.
Yeah.
Look, I like his game, and we spoke about the effect of John Collins, how that's going to thin the roster out. I think there's going to be opportunity for him. And then the other guy that you could keep your eye on too is Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I just don't know how I like the Hawks, but my question is how this is going to pan out. And someone will need to step up with just Trey. So maybe you're right. Maybe Jalen is the man.
Boston Celtics. You go first, man.
They're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
Um,
They fleeced the league for Porzingis and Drew Holiday. That was ridiculous.
I'm gonna I'll hold my thoughts on this. Can I just go back to a standard one, because I was, as much as I'd like to say any of their recent acquisitions, I think it always comes down to hobby wise. I think it comes down to their big two, and it's Tatum and Brown.
Sure.
Tatum's my focus at the moment, because I think, as far as people that are underrated, and I don't know how you can underrate someone that's sort of always in the discussions for MVP and thereabouts, and is the number one guy at a team. But yeah, there's not a lot of hobby love. I guess it's can I call it the Doncic factor? You need to actually achieve things to go up in value, because at the moment, silver PSA 10 for Jason Tatum last sold for $840. Now, I think that's a killer price. The population count on this card is 828.
But I just listened to what you said, and you were like, there's not much love for this guy. But then the next thing you said was his price is $800. Like, to me, that is a lot of love. And then I think this goes back to the whole thing about that equation in your head. I was talking to you about that, how it's like, I can't really describe this, but you're like, his talent is X and his price is Y, and this doesn't make sense. So you're like, this should be 1,400 or something like that. So
this is the hobby, I guess, in general at the moment. But I'll call it the Luca factor, because I'm going to bring the young fella up wherever I can, because him and I are such good pals. Luka Doncic. Let's have a look. Silver. Because there's a couple in circulation, if you haven't noticed. All right. View all sales. Luka Doncic. Population count 2,247. PSA 10s in his silver. Last sold price 1,427.50. And that's where why is Tatum $840?
yeah, sure.
And to take it a step further, Tatum's closer to success than Luka, in my opinion.
At the moment, definitely. That
Celtics
Boston team's built to win.
The Celtics are built to win this season.
Dallas has got a lot of holes. Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Yep.
And my prediction this year is that Dallas don't even make the play-in, thanks to the home wrecker in Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. Look, they're in for a big year.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to go into too much depth. I think you're right. There's a lot of conflicting data. It's just weird. It doesn't make sense to me, the Tatum data. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, that's fine. Look, I think that's your take, and we take that, and so I think for me, Porzingis and Drew Holiday is the ones, and I don't think we need to say much more than name dropping. I think if you're interested in finding out, in the last couple of podcasts we've talked about them anyway. So
a lot of these players we'll be touching on again, I'm sure.
That's fine. Yeah. Brooklyn Nets. So there's so much talent on this team. It's a little bit crazy. There's a few teams that we're going to talk about: the Nets, the Pistons, the Thunder. Like, they're sort of just got a lot of talent spread throughout, and actually finding someone on the Nets was difficult for me, but I'm just going to take the easy one out. I'm going to go Mikal Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other one we have to talk about now is Simmons, because it actually looks like he's got his act back together. And
he might have his act back together. That was
he slid so far, and he does have a history of being up so high. So
yeah,
look, I think Bridges is someone that you can buy with confidence for the fact that he really has shown a lot of potential. And I think the other thing too is he did play really well for Team USA. And that means,
yeah.
something for me. So
Yeah.
silver PSA 10, last sold for 136. I think this is a really good buy at the moment.
Yes. Yep. Agreed. Agreed. I've got no gripes with that at all.
Do you want me to do Ben Simmons or do you want to do that?
Ben Simmons is an interesting one. I haven't got card ladder data on Ben.
Last sold for 500 his silver. Pop of
Yuck.
139.
I can't say with any confidence that I'm happy with that pricing. I'm sorry, but the world has lost confidence with. There's a long way to go before confidence is restored with Simmons, but that 500 is a recent spike too.
It is, yeah, that's right. So previously to that, it sold for 240.
Yeah,
So there was a lot of people that had been buying Simmons when he was, on the down. So
yeah, yeah, and look, it's all about timing, right? If you bought Simmons at peak Simmons time, you were taking cents on the dollar, and you when you sold out. But if you're buying him when we thought he was never going to play basketball again,
yeah,
then obviously you're going to make a killing now if he starts actually putting up some stats. I think Brooklyn's thing is that they don't have a number one guy at the moment. Mikal Bridges could be that person, but I think there's a lot of opportunity hobby wise for someone to assume the mantle as the number one guy in Brooklyn.
So this theme around Simmons was that he's actually the type of the guy that you do need to build the entire team around because of his very specific skill set that he has. So actually, this could be the year where he is almost by default is the number one.
Mm.
Look, he's doing everything
Interesting.
right so far. I mean, I'm very skeptical to say, put your house on this guy because he's a bit of a
Sure.
snowflake. Like, let's be honest, but everything's looking great so far. So,
Yeah.
yep. Charlotte Hornets. I think for me, the obvious one is LaMelo Ball, just for the simple fact that I think it's a really good time to almost check in with LaMelo Ball because essentially for a 12-month period, he carried the hobby.
Mm. Yep.
So,
Yep.
where are we sitting at with LaMelo Ball now? Because
I think people are dropping off because they're starting to prospect the opposite way. They're like, well,
yep,
where's the future in Charlotte? And I think it's interesting when you're prospecting on players as well. You've got to look at team success as well as a factor here.
yep,
I actually don't think the Hornets are going to be a train wreck this year, but they're not going to be high up. But I don't think they're going to be the absolute disaster. A couple of years ago, they weren't. They actually were looking okay before everything hit the fan. So I
yep,
don't know. Ball back. They've got Brandon Miller. Even Haywood, if he plays some serious basketball. Bridges is back. PJ Washington. There's some
yep,
good players there that can play some serious ball.
yep.
So LaMelo's going to be the man that facilitates all of this. And if that goes well, then his hobby value goes up. But
So
that's a
if
big
you
if.
go to his all-time value, he's down 93% all time.
Yep.
So he at his peak he sold for 6,500. He's now down to 420. So you can look at that two ways. You can say, well, I don't want to get onto this. It's just a train wreck, and that's fair enough. Or you can say,
Yeah.
actually, now is the right time to jump on. I look, to be honest, I don't think this is a surefire thing to be buying LaMelo Ball and thinking you're going to make coin. I think this is going to be really tricky. And to be honest, I would probably just wait 12 months and just like see where it plays out because, like, for that 400, you're not that far away from a Ben Simmons. You're not that far away from a Jason Tatum.
Can I
So
can I say I was going to go the other way and say I can buy 2 Trae Youngs for that.
yeah, right. And that's fine.
That's enough said. They're both point guards. Like
Yep.
yeah,
So I think
simple.
then after that, the guys that were on my list, look, I think Brandon Miller to me is going to be a little bit of a stay away. And the reason I say that because I think he actually might get lost in their rotation a little bit. I think his pricing is going to be really high at the start because of that sort of excitement that you get around rookies, and that's fine. I've got no troubles with that. But Bridges, PJ Washington, I know there's been some like legal problems in that mix, but they're also very good veterans, sort of in their peak.
Yep.
I'm personally buying PJ Washington. I think Bridges is in trouble again, so he might not be playing all of the season. If you're looking for a deep cut, Mark Williams, they just cut one of their backup centers, so I think the responsibility of the starting center is going to go to him. So
Okay.
he might see a little bit of a bump there.
You heard it here first. There we go. It's yeah, I'm in agreement. I would not be investing in Bridges. It's good to see he's back. In fact, I probably wouldn't be investing in Charlotte in a big way. Yeah, PJ Washington's probably the only one that's got that sort of upward trajectory, and yeah, Brandon Miller. I don't know. It's too volatile. Charlotte haven't really had any success as a team, and that makes things difficult.
I think particularly when the league is so stacked, like we're not just
Yeah.
talking about teams being a little bit stacked now, like
Mm.
they are ridiculously stacked. I think, like you said it before, Dallas might not make the play in this year, and I think
Yeah.
how does that play out for teams like the Hornets, the Bulls? Like it makes it really hard. Speaking of the Bulls, who's your player to discuss from the Chicago Bulls?
And this is a tough one for me.
You can pass if you want. It's totally fine.
Alex Caruso.
Okay,
Actually, no, Zach LaVine. Come on.
sure.
He's being paid the most there, and I think that's probably a problem. One of the problems Chicago's going to have. They haven't been able to do anything because his salary is kind of making things tough.
Okay.
I'm getting data up at the moment on Zach, so you can.
So I really like Ayo Dosunmu. And the
Yeah,
reason I like
yep.
this kid is because he's young, he's got good size, he's got good length, he's got athleticism. I think his skill is improving, and I think that the contract that they gave him recently means that they want him to be around for a few more years. So, and he's also at this like super prospectable amount at the moment. So, a silver rookie last sold for $2.55. So, I think it's a bit like the Spurs kid that we spoke about last week.
Vassal.
Yeah, I think for me, you're sort of buying into him before something big happens with him. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. And I think the other one that's obvious that we can't not talk about is Pat Williams. There was so much hype coming into this kid, when he first came out in the draft and he got badly injured. The thing you have to remember, though, he came into the league when he was 18 years old. So
True.
he's still younger than some of the kids who are coming out the draft this year. Like, he's younger than Brandon Miller. And I think, you can say, well, he's a bust and he's been slow and all the rest of it. Like, it doesn't matter. He actually played really well at the end of last year. So, I think for me, they're the two young guys to keep your
Yeah.
eye on to. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Who have we got next?
Cleveland Cavaliers.
The
This is
Cavs.
a really funny one for me because there's heaps of talent here, but maybe not someone you're going to talk about a lot. So what I actually want to do for myself was more just do a check-in, similar to what we did with LaMelo Ball. Where is
Okay.
Evan Mobley sitting? Like, let's just
Yeah.
talk about this guy. Like, where is he? The problem with Evan Mobley, it is hard to really get great data conversation around this because he's not on Card Ladder. Let's see what I can find on eBay sales. Yeah, he's slid really badly. So this is not the best examples, but a rookie Spectra card, number to 99, last sold for $14 US. So that's sort of around the $22 to $23 mark. A rookie ticket from Optics Contender, number to 45, that sold for $16 USD.
Okay.
Look, Silver Cracked Ice Prism rookie card for $6.50. Look, I think this guy's a buy.
At that kind of price, I
Yeah.
mean, we all, as far as the predictions early on, I do think Cleveland are going to be a successful team in the East, and Mobley's going to be a key piece of that.
I think my two concerns with Mobley is that it's a slow burn. I don't think he's a quick flip.
Mm.
So I think be prepared for that. I'd also say with him too is let's call him at best a Tim Duncan light. We all sort of know how that played out with Tim Duncan in terms of his hobby popularity.
Mm.
Maybe I've just talked myself into a stay away. Maybe just go out and buy a Tim Duncan rookie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
Instead of
exactly
prospecting,
where.
just buy like a sure thing because
And I
yeah.
think Cleveland, look, it's one of those buyer beware things because you've got these rosters. Cleveland's a bit more settled than most, but you're going to be a lot of.
These guys are rock solid, man. They're going to be good. Yeah.
But then you've got the question is Donovan Mitchell going to stay there long term? That's a big question that's up in the air at the moment. If I mean, where does he go? Really?
So if you want to talk about Mitchell, that's fine. I'll just 2 seconds do Garland. I think Garland for me is the buy. His silver PSA 10 is currently at $100.
Mm-hmm.
Not looking at his highest spike, but sort of a smaller spike that he had. That was at like 340, 350. So
Okay.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. He's going to be low pop, isn't he? Because he's not a highly prospected player. It'll be
The
lower
pop
than average
the pop
population
count's
count.
not correct on this. It's saying 1. There's no way that
There's only one. That's it. It's a
there's no
Highlander
way.
card.
He's had hundreds of sales. There's no way it's pop 1.
That
Yep.
card's been around.
It has. It has.
Look, I think Donovan Mitchell is an interesting one because he's at the Trae Young price point. Last sold $206.50 for a Donovan Mitchell PSA
Yep.
10. Silver, pop count of $599.
Yep.
So Trae Young's at that 2,000 pop count. And I'm using that as the example. That's probably the only stay away thing from Trae.
But that's the difference in 1 year of the hobby from 17, 18 to 18, 19. That's what happened with production and pop counts, you know.
But the Luka count Luka's from is Luka in this one?
Luka's 18,
The
19.
next.
So no, he's Trae Young year. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the Trae Young year. So he's in the 2000 silvers, whereas Tatum is in this class, isn't he?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Tatum's in this class. His pop count's around the 800 mark. Is it 800, 600?
Yeah, it'll be around that. Yeah.
It's below. It's a sub 1,000 pop count.
Yeah.
And the lower price point. Like I don't know. It seems if it's a supply demand hobby and there are less copies of a card, if there is success, I would assume that the price would reflect that. But it's the reason we're here every week to talk about things.
Absolutely. I know you've been dying to talk about the Mavericks and Luka. Luka's on the top of my list. I don't care what you say. I want to talk about Luka.
You can talk about Luka.
It's the same reason why I want to talk about Mobley and I wanted to talk about LaMelo Ball. It's just like I just want to check back in with this guy because for me, he's one of the most important pieces in the hobby. I think even you could admit that as much as you hate on the guy. He's
one of the biggest busts of all time. I mean,
sure.
No, he's not a bust. He's one of the best players, but he's got nothing on his resume.
Population 2,247. Last sold for 1,427, as you did previously say before.
Yeah.
His peak was 8,100.
Yeah.
He's been very solid the last sort of 18 months. Look, he's probably slid down the last 18 months. I think that's fair to say, but at the same time, it's been pretty solid there. Look, I got to say, I don't think that this is a buy. I can't actually sit here and say to everyone, go out and buy these with every last cent that what you've got, because I think for all the things that you've said, if Dallas have trouble this year, the population counts are high, and then there are people that have sort of bought in and getting a bit wobbly knees, because Kyrie's not looking great and all the rest of it.
Can we just go on? I'm going to go on the record and say Kyrie Irving should be nicknamed the Home Wrecker. If he wants to go and become a wrestler after basketball, he could go in as the Home Wrecker.
Yeah,
he's going to blow up Dallas. He's done it before. He'll do it again, and he's going to make Luka Doncic a very, very, very sad man.
Yeah. The only caveat I would put to that is that let's just say Luka does start to slide down. I think that's when you start to focus on buying numbered stuff, because I think numbered stuff is a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I don't know. Just like to give grief to Luka because he deserves it. No, he doesn't. I don't know. I hope the Mavericks do sort their stuff out. I just don't see the way they're currently constructed. I feel like a lot of mistakes have been made and the damage may already be done.
They've had a lot of front office turmoil. I think that's very fair to say that. Who do you want to talk about on their roster, or you just want to pass?
Let's say Dante Exum. It's nice to see an Aussie back.
I think we should talk about him, and he has played amazingly to the point that actually there's been articles written about him and there's been video footage about him, coming back into the league and making the right plays. And I think
he was a first round draft pick, and it was a high first round draft pick.
I think he was number 3 if my memory serves me correct. So I think it's good to see someone actually rebuild their body, rebuild their their play overseas. Good on him for making it back. I love these sort of reclamation stories. I found a really interesting card. So a 2015 Court Kings Aurora. Now let's exclude the last sale because that was 99 cents. But before that, it's been selling for $17 to $20. They're actually a case hit.
Oh, wow.
I like this a lot. I think the other thing about someone like Dante Exum, where us as Aussies are a little bit insulated, and maybe not so much our international listeners, but the Aussie stuff always does pretty well on the resale market. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting card find there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, Denver Nuggets. Now, this is a little bit out of left field here, but
I
bear with
like
me.
it. We weren't going to talk about how amazing Jokic is, and we've done that to death. We've flogged that dead horse, and everybody knows that Jokic is the man to buy.
No arguments at all. And look, and there's other talent on that roster, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, blah, 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 blah,
Agreed.
blah. But at
Yeah.
the same time, Julian Strother. Now, he's actually interesting before we even get started. So he's been traded 3 times already. He was traded by Boston as a pick to the Pacers. The Pacers selected him, and then they traded him in a 4-team deal to the Nuggets. That stuff just totally fascinates him. Anyway, he's had 23 points in the preseason. He had another 20-point game, and then he had 2 other games with like 10 or 15 points. So I think the general consensus on this kid is that he's very talented, but the question is going to be, is he going to be getting the time? The other thing that is interesting about, for me, this kid too is, sometimes players fall through the cracks and they don't get a Prism card. I've got a sneaking suspicion Julian Strother is going to be one of those dudes. So then you have to start scouting out for Mosaic, Court Kings, Optic, blah, 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 blah,
Find out
blah.
where the Prism where the Prism
Alternatives are.
where the
Yep.
Prism update cards come in. Yeah.
I still think you have to keep an eye on this kid. I think you
Okay.
need to bookmark this kid's name and check back in every sort of couple of months and just, keep your finger on the pulse with him. Yep. That's my Denver
So
Nuggets
he's a small
take.
forward. Interesting. So there's a spot for him. I'm gonna go back to not quite a dead horse. It's a horse that probably is on its last legs for my pick from the Nuggets, and that's Jamal Murray.
That's fine. Totally fine.
Um,
I'm keen to hear this, actually.
he's the road in the last 6 months alone. So for those playing at home, I've got the card ladder stats up for his. Oh, that's the base. Let's go to the silver. But he seems to be on a roller coaster. The spike here in June is when he was destroying Miami in the playoffs. But his last sold price for his PSA 10 rookie card is $260,
which seems low for someone of his achievements.
So I'll throw this out to you. Would you buy a Jason Tatum, a Trae Young, and a Jamal Murray PSA 10 silver? And to make the extra $100 up, let's put Garland there as well.
Yeah, cool.
Right? Or a Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
This is my point about Luka being overrated.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that sums it up quite well, because Jamal Murray is that this is his year to shine.
I don't know if he's snotty-nosed about this, but do you want to have 5 middling cards in your collection, or do you want to have like one really good one? And I think I would say the answer, whichever one you choose, I think is the right answer. By the way, I think what you proposed was super cool, right? But I think also too, sometimes you're like, do I want 5 cards, or am I going to sell off these 5 and buy one good cards? So
my other point to that is one of these 4 or 5 cards, long term, is going to be worth more than a Luka rookie. Because I don't think Luka's done anything with his career. He's got to do something.
Yeah, look, I know
there's a cliff that's gonna drop.
I know you're on this thing, but I'm not saying you've gone too far.
Paris hit the nail on the head the other week when we were on with the Card Codex boys.
Sure.
Everyone thought the great white hope or great European player of the league was the sensation was gonna be Luka Doncic. That's what the league wanted. That's what the media wanted. What they got was Nikola Jokic.
And he's horse riding.
And he doesn't give a fat rat's about basketball in the off season.
So look, okay, that's fine. I don't particularly disagree with that, but where I would push back a little bit, if you said to me, the Celtics and Dallas are in the finals, and it's down to the last possession, who would you want to take the final shot, Luka or Tatum? I think I would want the ball in Luka's hands. I think Tatum's a good basketball player, but I actually don't think he's there with shot creating on the same level that Luka is.
I reckon Tatum. I reckon Tatum will get to that point, and I just don't think Luka will get to the NBA Finals, so it won't matter.
Okay.
That the problem is you got to get to the NBA Finals for that to
Yeah, for
happen,
sure.
right?
You need a good team, and some of it's circumstantial and opportunistic and blah
Yeah,
blah blah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
No. Look, and you're right. I've used the analogy flogging a dead horse, and I just keep going. I'm laying into Luca nonstop.
yeah.
But I
Definitely.
use it as a bar. As like people are investing in something that is unsubstantiated. We talk about vintage cards being it's established. We've seen their career.
I
We've seen their success.
so okay. I think people were speculating on Luca.
How are they speculating on him now, though?
Well, because I think I think the comparison is to say a Jordan. I think because initially when he came into the league, he was
Mm,
putting up some crazy numbers.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I
I
can
think
see
that's
that.
what I think that's the original thing that
Maybe I'm
happened.
not upset that Luca's and maybe I should stop phrasing it like
And
picturing
he
it
was
as
really
Luca being
good, really young.
overrated. Maybe Tatum's underrated. Maybe Murray's underrated. Maybe there are a lot of players that are undervalued.
Look, maybe we need to spend more time on this and we can actually map out the
Hmm.
first, say, 5 years of their career and then also do like an age comparison, what they were doing at that time. Because
Yeah.
I think actually what you'll find is Luca was putting up better numbers than Tatum at that age.
True. Yep, that's
Do you know?
possible.
I think
Hmm.
that also came into people's thought process.
Yeah.
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 And I think also too, once the market gets set, so the classic example is Jamal Murray. Like you can't tell me that this is not a good buy at 260. I think the reason why it's 260 is kind of sometimes the market sets itself, and
Yeah,
the
it's true.
market has now set itself for 1400 for Luca. I think that's a little
He's
bit.
also the number 2 guy in Denver. So I will concede that. Murray is the number 2 guy. He'd be number 1 on a lot of teams, but he's the number 2 guy in Denver.
So he's actually spiked around the finals. So he was up to 580 at one point.
That's when he was dropping 30 on the Lakers and then
So do you
killed
think
Miami.
this is a very good buy at 260, Ad?
I think it's a good preseason buy at 260 because this
Yeah.
is going to be our first
Yep.
fully healthy season of Jamal Murray, and I think he's ready to just to be a regular season star.
Yep.
Anyway, it's enough about the Nuggets.
We have a new sponsor supporting the show. It is The Bangman, who is a new startup and have been operating since June this year, delivering a variety of hobby packs in a single box at an affordable price. So far, they've delivered some huge hits. The biggest one they've pulled so far is a Steph Curry Signatures Gold Auto to 10, which came out of the July edition. Some comps have been rounded up to about 15k AUD, which was verified by Card Letter. So if you're not familiar with what the Bangman is and what their product is offering, it's basically an assortment of hobby packets put into a box at an affordable buy, and you can then open a variety of different hobby packs. Some of the advantages of buying into a product such as this is that you can sample a whole bunch of different products. Another way to think of it is doing your own break at home. The advantage of the Bangman's product is you are purchasing sealed, unsearched hobby packs as opposed to a single card repack product that has a huge range in value. Just to make the clear delineation between the Bangman's product and any traditional repack, when you buy into a Bangman product, you are getting the guarantee of the Panini seal, and then all of the hits then come out of sealed products. So all the numbered cards, if appropriate for the product, rookie patch autographs, signature cards, and of course those super short prints and case hits. Another key point for the Bangman product is that they have an assortment of different hobby packs in a custom box at 2 different price points, one being a gold edition and the other being a silver edition. Each month, the Bangman changes up the pack so it's not the same constant lineup. For listeners of our podcast, we have an exclusive deal for you. Use promo code youcantcompthis to get a $15 discount off your next purchase. Find the Bangman on Instagram, the.bang.man, and on Facebook, the Bangman. Thank you so much, Amir and Team Bangman. Detroit Pistons, I just want to really quickly check in on Cade. And, I've been pretty open about saying buy Cade. I think he's a good buy. So I'm actually interested to see where he's sitting at. So the last 3 months, he is up 25%. And I'm not great at sitting around checking the numbers, to be honest, but I'm actually not surprised to see that, just for the fact that there's footage out there of him looking really good.
Yeah.
That footage from the USAB team was awesome.
Yeah.
And he was playing really, really good basketball. So I'm all about this. I think the Pistons are going to be super fun this year. I think the other one to look at too is Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the comparisons coming out was kind of like a bigger Ja Morant, which is probably maybe poor form now, considering, you know,
Well, I don't think they mean he's going to be like flashing guns on Instagram, but we'll see. Time will tell. The thing about these young teams is they're throwing out different lineups. They've got inexperience, and there's going to be opportunities hobby wise where a player goes on a tear. So watch out if you've got, I don't know, Killian Hayes for argument's sake, and all of a sudden Hayes goes on a 10-game stretch where he pulls a Cam Thomas and just goes off, like hits the headlines, there'll be a Ferrugia factor level spike.
yeah.
But Cade, I think, is the long-term real deal.
Yeah. Okay, so Jaden Ivey, silver PSA 10, last sold for 10 USD. Look, I cannot put this in highlighted exclamation points enough how much of a good buy I think this is. Do I think this is a high risk purchase? Yes, I do. Okay, like this kid is high octane, high risk of getting injured on a kind of crappy team that might not get very much media attention. So don't think that doesn't come without any risk, but at the same time,
No risk, no reward.
yeah, that's super
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. They're going to be fun. They're going to be fun to watch. I don't see them having great success this season.
No, definitely not. But they've
Yeah.
taken a lot of risk on, young talent. Marvin Bagley's there, Wiseman's there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that team is going to be like a really fun sort of watch. Yeah. Anyone else you want to talk on the Pistons?
No. I really just wanted to check in with Cade. I think they're going to be exciting. The young group they've got is going to be very interesting to watch. I've seen some highlights. I have been watching a lot of NBA highlights, and Cade's impressed me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's been good.
He knows how to play basketball, that guy. Yeah.
He does. He's not too bad now. He's not injured. So yeah, I'm excited with seeing what Cade can do, and hopefully the Pistons can do something. I guess hopefully the Pistons can do something to build to next season.
Yeah. Golden State Warriors. For me, there's only two people to talk about. It's Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody.
Moses Moody, interesting.
Yeah. So Jonathan Kuminga, silver raw rookie, last sold for 32 USD. No sales data on card letter, unfortunately. Select sticker rookie patch autograph, 66 USD. Now this kid is starting to move up. Like these aren't prices that are kind of like prospecting prices anymore. They're starting to move into sort of the real deal sort of prices. And I got to tell you, man, I'm a little bit surprised it sort of took this long. And I think part of my surprise is that he's had a lot of exposure to, a national audience now for the last couple of years. Like he hasn't been hidden away. I think the difference this year is that he's going to be forced into the rotation. Just the way that their players are all getting a little bit older. Yes, they did get, Chris Paul instead of Jordan Poole, but I actually think that's going to help Kuminga because he's got someone setting him up now instead of taking the ball away from him. And the same as Moses Moody. Yeah. So I actually
Moses Moody wasn't one on my radar, but Kuminga through the preseason, I'm like, this is a rotation player right here, right now.
Yeah, the thing about Moses Moody is that he was actually a first-round pick.
Okay.
And so part of the problem with being on a super veteran-heavy team is sometimes takes time to get into that rotation. So it's not about talent with this kid, it's about opportunity. So, and I think it's going to be there. So, and actually, this is segueing back to Kuminga for 2 seconds, but they released Rudy Gay yesterday. And I thought they were going to keep him around for like sort of an old man in the room, thing. And I also thought that might take, say, 5 minutes away from Kuminga. So that's also freed that piece up where I'm kind of like, actually, I think, that's a good thing. So Moody was drafted the 14th overall in 2021. Like that's not an asset you really want to just throw away.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. Like it's, I don't know. The Golden State Warriors are so good though with their list management. So when they make a call like that, something's up.
Yeah. Anyone else you want to talk about Warriors wise?
How was Steph Curry against Victor Wembanyama in the tip off the other day? I hope they turn that into a photo.
Why did they do that?
Steph's the one that went to the jump ball at the start of the game. He's like, "Dude, I've got this. Don't worry, boys." Maybe it's just something he wants to tell his kids that I had a tip off against him one day in a preseason game.
I mean, Steph Curry can do whatever he wants.
He can do whatever he wants. Steph's still Steph.
Moses
But
Moody, silver PSA 10, $30 US. So
if he gets a solid rotation piece and the Warriors are putting together what I think could be a dangerous season.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's much hobby love. I know there hasn't been, but my impressive one was Dario Saric in the
Look, I'm
preseason for the
happy.
I'm
I'm happy for the dude to be back. Blah blah
but
blah blah blah.
I don't think he's ever going to get any hobby love. That's the problem.
No,
He's not a 25 US last sold for his silver. Anyway.
for Dario Saric.
Yep.
What? I can't believe that.
Pop count of 81 PSA 10. Last sold. Oh, this is a while back. It was on July 8th. Number of sales 2 in the last 6 months. So there are a couple of people in the world that still care about Dario Saric. He's wasn't he like a top pick in that Ben Simmons draft?
Yeah, but I don't think there's much left in those old legs, man. I think he's pretty cooked now.
I think he's going to be a good role player. He's going to be a sneaky role player for the
Yeah,
Warriors.
sure. No, I don't mean it like that. I just mean like I don't think he's going to. Yeah, he's not going to move the needle, man. I think
there are other players on that Warriors team that are going to draw attention.
Look, I got to tell you, I'm traumatized by him anyway. I had a De'Aaron Fox rookie card that was redeemed as a Dario Saric. So like, no matter what you say to me, you know what I mean? That guy's dead. Dario Saric is dead to me. Like, yeah.
Rough. Commiserations.
Houston Rockets. So just before we even talk, I don't really want to talk about these guys. This is what I do want to talk about. Houston Rockets owes their pick to the OKC Thunder if it falls 5-30. So you can't tell me that this team wants to be competitive this year.
No. Spoiler alert, if you listen to the podcast where I go through my predictions for the West, Houston are number 15. That's also with a tanking San Antonio
15
Spurs.
15 in the West?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
They are dead ass last in the West.
Yeah, I think they're going to be bad. Yeah.
They're competing with Portland and San Antonio for the worst record, but yes.
So who can we talk about? So I think the obvious one is Şengün.
Şengün's the only one I think we can really, with any credibility, talk about.
Yeah. I think also where I'm going with that too is like, does that make him a stay away because they're going to be so bad? Or do you sort of just see how all this plays out this year and then start to pick him up slowly?
He's going to be developing, so as long as he's developing well, I think that's okay.
So the thing about this, so he's like the notch above Kuminga. So a 1-1 RPA sold for 142. That's numbered to 99.
Yeah.
Origins numbered to 25. Patch sticker autograph for 107. A select RPA for 71. I got to say to you, look, I'm not trying to talk people out of this, but I would also say I don't think this kid's a home run at those prices now. Again, considering what's going to happen for the next 12 months, I think the writing's on the wall. They're going to be really bad again.
I think it's a buyer beware factor. Know that Houston are going to be bad for a while.
The one that I think is also worth talking about is Jalen Green. There's been a lot of hobby love on this kid, and is this the year he's going to slide down and sort of come back to earth?
Probably.
Does he actually then become a buy? And then the other one for me is Jabari Smith Jr. I think they're the three big ones for me.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if they're just going to be bad and they're not,
Look,
it's tough. It's really tough. There's some prospecting there, but you probably don't want to overpay for players that are going to be on a bad team for a little while yet.
I just personally feel for me, it's just a stay away. It's too risky for me. I just think it's too fraught with basically peril and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair. Do you reckon Philadelphia tries to trade with Houston to get James Harden over there? Anyway.
So the word on the street was that he went to Houston to discuss an extension, but he wanted to win the scoring title, and they said that's not what we wanted. So I don't think even Houston wants him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Anyway,
this is juicy, man.
We've still got 3 teams to talk about, haven't we?
We're doing great. This is amazing for us.
We're killing it.
Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton. This is, for me, very, very juicy.
Halliburton is has got to be the focal point, right? Indiana are, I don't know, they're gonna, they feel like one of those mid-90s Indiana teams that are just gonna sort of, I don't know, etch out a few wins here and there and be sneaky competitive in the East. I can see them making the playoffs anyway, but the question is, Halliburton. That could be on the back of how good Halliburton is.
Yeah, I think Halliburton's play probably wasn't the thing that held them back last year. I think it was probably their big man play that I think ultimately held them back. And then defensively, they weren't fantastic. So, yeah, I think Mathurin, if he steps up, I think that's going to be interesting. And then, who's going to sort of fill out that 3 and the 4 spot? Like, to be honest, I'm not really that sure where that's all going. But I think Halliburton for me is the really like the one to sort of talk about, because I think this is where there's a lot of money going into. So all time, he's actually down 21%, which you kind of say, okay, that's not great, but his all-time high was 493. He's currently at 375. So we're not talking, a small amount
Massive,
of money.
yeah.
Like double Trae Young. I think going back to your point before,
Yeah.
do you want 2 Trays or a Halliburton? Like I gotta say, like that's a tricky one, but I really like Halliburton's talent. I think this kid is pretty special.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think he's a very talented player. The question I've got is, does he suffer being in Indiana hobby wise? Because Paul George is one of those players. He was a mate. He was like a top 10 player in the league at a point, Paul George, and he had no hobby love when he was in Indiana. But let's be real, he still doesn't have any. But do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think Halliburton has every possibility to be an all-star this year. But what's going to push the needle upwards on his hobby value?
All-star appearances, assist titles, and he could
Highlights.
easily average 20 points a game.
Okay. So
In the system that they run, if he takes that next step,
yeah.
So it's not outrageous to think so.
Okay.
So ESPN is projecting Halliburton, Mathurin to start, that's a sick backcourt. Then Bruce Brown, Obi Toppin, and that's where I was kind of in my head before I even looked at this. I wasn't too sure where that was at, and then Miles Turner. But then, so the takeaway from that for me is Obi Toppin.
Toppin's going to be very interesting. This might be his time to actually, because New York, there's a bit of a logjam, I guess, with roster spots.
Yeah, but without even looking at his value, I bet you can get his rookie cards for a couple of bucks.
Where are we?
And so if he's out there, getting 35 minutes a game, playing in an up and down system, there's no reason.
Last sold price for his raw silver was $5.
Yep.
$5.
And what's a PSA 10 going for? I think that's the
There's no PSA 10s.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's interesting.
Card ladder.
Yeah, right. The graph is it's brutal. It almost looks like it goes below 0 on some of these dot points.
So 99 cents.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go. 99-cent auctions.
Yeah, so like if you enjoy prospecting in that less than $10 mark, I think Obi Toppin should be on your list.
Yeah, get on it. Yep. Just have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Card ladder said its card ladder value is $5, so the last sold price, bang on the money.
Do we talk about Mathurin?
Is Mathurin? Yeah, I think he might be worth. Have we got any? Is there any data on him though?
There'll be nothing. It'll just be eBay sales. Yeah,
it's all eBay, wouldn't it? Because he's last year's rookie class. Yeah.
So there's not many people in this league that compete as hard as Benedict Mathurin are. So I think if you're looking for somebody that is going to be in the league for 10 to 15 years and is always going to be around, if you want a safe bet, not something that's going to be like Zion exploding and all the rest of it. I think this is the type of kid that you take a look at. Look, you can pick up red Prism rookie card with a sticker autograph on it, 66 USD. That's actually not that low, is it?
No, it's not that low, but he was
fast break number to 10, 215 USD. Like people like this guy.
He was off the chart last year. People had him he was looking. They thought he might get rookie of the year. Do you know what I mean? Like there was a stage there where he was the hot property.
His non-auto stuff though was a bit more reasonable. So Mosaic rookie in the Mosaic parallel, $2. There's impeccable the stainless star. So that's that metal card. It's got the protection layer on it, 17 USD, and then Donruss Optic Choice, $4.25. So you can buy into this guy at a range of prices. So yeah, I think if you want something that's pretty steady and gonna hold tight, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think that's Mathurin's good. And he's young. He seems like this will be his year to go from strength to strength, and that might be the Pacers might be sneaky good.
I think looking at their rotation too, there's nothing really there that worries me too. He's not going to get time. Like maybe Buddy Hield from time to time might take some of his minutes, but
Look, he spends so much time on the trade block, he won't get many minutes.
yeah, I think they'll work that out. I think Mathurin will get time.
I think Mathurin will be fine. I think
Yeah.
Buddy Hield just sort of rather than sitting on the bench, rather sit on the trade block. That's his spot. That's his spot. But yes, interesting. Yeah,
All right.
Indiana. I like Indiana.
Well, the next team I kind of hate. So I actually went out to really make effort, so it didn't seem like I was just flipping this team off. But the LA Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, I think we have to talk about him. He's probably in my mind.
Why? Why do we have to talk about a player that never plays?
Because I actually think he's quite potentially a top 30 player of all time. But because he literally never talks, there's not that much pizzazz and stuff around him. But his actual resume,
and he doesn't play basketball though. He doesn't.
The
play
last couple of
anymore.
years he hasn't played, but he actually did a lot before.
When he plays, he's one of the greatest in the world. He's proven it when he was in Toronto.
So 2012 National Treasures horizontal RPA number to 199. Last sold for 6,000. Now hear me out here. It's on a very steady downtrend. It peaked at 50K.
Jesus.
Now just zooming out to the all-time players. Let's just say my 30 is outrageous and wrong, but let's say he actually ends up at 50 or 60. At that price, is that a really good buy? 6,000.
6K.
Yeah. Game worn, on-card autograph, BGS 9.5. Let's say you get a PSA 9 or a BGS 9. That's fine.
You know, I'm
picking up what I'm putting down.
I feel that. I feel that. Although I'm glad you put Kawhi and not Paul George, because I'm not buying that. Or Westbrook.
You're welcome to talk about whoever you wanted to. I'm just trying my hardest here to find something to talk about on the Clippers because it's hard. Man.
I had one thing. I watched some highlights and I saw Bones Highland go off.
Okay,
and
you want to talk about Bones Highland?
Bones Highland.
Let's do it.
I know they were cheap as chips, the rookie card, and there are a few people prospecting. Might be worth a look-see. He might. I think he'll get minutes.
The problem with Bones is that he's a highlight reel every time he walks out on the floor, but he is like knucklehead level of JaVale McGee. So if there's a current Shaqting the full MVP, like it literally should be Bones.
It's Bones.
The guy is like...
Which is impressive given Russell Westbrook's on the same team. There's going to be a lot of Clippers highlights on Shaqting the full this season.
Yeah.
I just went to put in Bones into Card Ladder, and all I keep getting is 1976 Star Trek Dr. Bones McCoy. So...
You might need to do Bones Highland. Try that.
It's Hylan?
LAND.
D?
Yep.
Highland. Nothing in Card Ladder.
Oh, yeah, I don't think he'll be on Card Ladder.
He's not in Card Ladder.
Yep.
Where are our lovely friends at?
This guy's dirt cheap, man. So
he's going to be dirt cheap. He's going to be one of those. It's like it's pick him up where you can.
Premium rookie ticket from Contenders autograph, $26.
Nice.
RPA 1-1. It's the horizontal, not the vertical, but still beautiful card. 58 USD. Numbered Prism rookie card, blue to 199, 650. Like that's ridiculous for a numbered rookie card. So this guy's like, this is a pretty deep prospect. Look, I actually view this guy as very high risk ad, to be perfectly honest with you.
I was going to say be high risk, but like if you're paying like blue to 199, $6.50.
Yeah. No, it's not. I've done way stupider stuff than spend.
I've spent $10 on much stupider things.
Yeah.
That haven't had any return on them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I actually lied a little bit because I actually found someone else to talk about too. So I think the other one we have to talk about is Terrence Mann. So allegedly he was untouchable in the trade market this year. So I think if we don't talk about this kid, we're doing a disservice.
Untouchable.
So silver PSA 10 rookie card sold for 24 USD. So do we actually make this? I'm going to contradict myself here. This has to be a solid buy because if he's untouchable, they're going to play him. If Kawhi Leonard is healthy, if Paul George is healthy, they're going to make at least a second round appearance with Terrence Mann there. So
I've got the Clippers in the play-in and not winning. But Terrence Mann is going to be a key.
Yeah.
And given his recent prices, what, $25 for a PSA 10 silver?
Yep.
Could be worth it.
All right.
Could be
Last
worth
team,
it.
the Lakers. Let's go, Ad. I'll let you take the reins on this one.
There's only one player that I feel. Actually, you're right. No, the two players that you've put in the list, I don't really.
That's
We've
fine.
talked about Austin Reeves.
This is your team, man. Yeah.
I never want to talk about Anthony Davis.
Sure.
We know he's going to be injured at some point.
So from a Lakers fan, who is hobby relevant?
Rui.
Okay, cool.
Rui Hachimura.
So we agree on that.
Yeah, was the man that I saw through the preseason and went, wow, okay, this is interesting. This is good. Cam Wood might be in, but as far as the play wise, but hobby wise, I think Rui's the one that. Yeah.
So I think the person that fits their rotation and is ready to play now is Rui Hachimura. So I think there's no argument from me.
I would. I did some silly gambling on the weekend, and I did put some money on Rui Hachimura for 6th man of the year.
Okay.
I was drunk at the time, but yeah.
Okay. I mean, drunk bets are always the best, aren't they?
When I sobered up, I said, that's actually not a terrible selection.
I mean, you could have bought a Bones Highland to 199, but that's okay. Like
the other thing I did was back Anthony Edwards for most improved.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, back to the Lakers. Rui's been killing it in the preseason. I don't think he's going to be as wide open for threes in the regular season, but yeah, I think Hachimura is the real deal, and they got him for nothing.
Yeah,
it was so good.
I'm actually furious at Washington about this. Like, why did they give up on a prospect that young and give it to a good team that needed young legs? Like, it's so annoying, when that keeps happening. So Rui's silver PSA 10 last sold for $60 USD. Look, I agree with everything that you said about this guy, but I would also say too, like 60 USD is pretty much 100 AUD. Like for me, this is more than just like low end prospecting now. So
yeah, for sure.
Look, if you guys go out and buy them, I'm definitely not going to poo-poo you about it. But at the same time, I don't actually think this is a home run by any stretch of the imagination. So
he did go through his spike when he came to the Lakers.
Yeah.
You'll notice that in February. So once he came across, all the Lakers fans went, "You ripper!" And he hit $88 at one point. Actually, he hit over 100. There's a sale for $112.50 on January 24th. So, yeah, interesting that.
So I did find a card of Rui, though, that I do believe is worth buying, and it's his rookie Kaboom card. So it last sold for $240.
Oh, wow.
If you're looking at his all-time graph, it's basically in half. So at its peak, it sold for $800. Mm-hmm. And I actually think, like, Kaboom's, pretty difficult to get your hands onto. The other play there is that you buy it raw and you send it off to PSA to get graded, see if you can, get something back in that way. But I would also say too, rookie case hit on somebody that I think there's more potential on that to spike than maybe the silver PSA 10.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. There's not like I don't think it's going to be one of those crazy. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a crazy silver rookie card moment. And that's the thing, like being, as I've already circled, like 6th man of the year, he's not in the big three. He's not the fourth piece he's not like the next one, the next member of the Beatles. He's a solid role player on the Lakers, but he's still very young and there's an upward trajectory with him, I think.
Yeah. No,
he's definitely worked on his body, and I think it's we haven't seen the best of him yet. So, but that Kaboom, that is a sweet looking card.
Yeah.
Very sweet looking card.
Can we do Cam Reddish?
We can.
Yeah.
I'm not high on him yet, but he rolled his ankle in the preseason, so he hasn't played a lot.
Hear me out with this kid, right? So comes into the league to the Atlanta Hawks, 20 years of age, like just barely 20 years of age. So that's that whole thing I was talking about before with Pat Williams. It's like he could have been in college for 2 more years, developed his body, come in, or, he's in the NBA now and we sort of write them off because they haven't done much the first couple of years.
Sure. Yeah, right? Yeah. Yep.
So in this situation, it's probably not great. And now that we know about what's happened now with the Atlanta Hawks, like they've literally gutted that team. Now it's just Trae Young left and a bunch of people who are probably not as talented as Cam Reddish, frankly. Goes to the Knicks. that's a really tough nut to crack with Thibodeau. Goes to the Blazers. We know what's happened to that team now. That team's completely been exploded.
Yep.
Goes to the Lakers. Now he's 23 years of age. You could argue he's coming to the prime of his career. 6'8".
He's definitely in a prime
kilograms. So he's a big boy. He can play the 3. In the modern NBA, he can play a little bit of 4.
He definitely feels
guard 2s,
prime.
I think, if needed for the Lakers, because they don't have the best sort of defensive tools in the league. I like this a lot. I think the kid came into the NBA with a lot of talent. And in terms of his sales prices, like, people bought this guy heavily when he first came into the league. So his all-time high price was $540. I think he's worth a bit of an eye on too, because his all-time high was $619. He's currently trading at $65, but previous to that, he was around sort of like the $40 to $50 mark. And I think part of the reason why I'm a little bit optimistic on this guy, obviously it's the current price that he's at. It's his talent level that he came into the league with. And as I was previously saying about how bad his previous stops were in terms of opportunity-wise, I think him being on the Lakers, getting that exposure, and I think at the end of the day, talent always wins out. And this Lakers team is talented, but it's not like it's got that much talent that someone else couldn't crack the rotation. So I think Cam Reddish, you can't just disregard. I think you need to at least keep an eye on him. And if you're holding Cam Reddish, because there's going to be a heap of guys out there who are holding this kid, you got to be super optimistic about this. Like, this is really good. And he looks in great shape. So
yeah, for sure. I think he's done the work. It's one of those things, you turn up to Lakers training camp and you've got LeBron James there in year 21. This guy scored more points than anybody in the league. You've got to come and impress. The Lakers have constructed an incredibly good lineup.
Yeah.
And if you want to break into that rotation and I'll say potentially win a championship, you better bring your A game. I think this is a good opportunity. The Lakers have done well recruiting pieces, and I think Cam Wood, the likes of Cam Reddish with a chip on his shoulder, is awesome. So yeah, could be a good buy.
Final thoughts from this week, Ad? What was your favorite recommendation?
Trae Young, get on it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I don't know. I have a feeling that Atlanta's gonna sort of take a step. I think. Sorry, not Atlanta. I think Trae Young is going to show us that he is one of the most disrespected players in the league, and he is going to step up. There was stuff he was doing in the preseason that just reminded me of when Steph Curry took that step.
Yep.
Like, he was just popping from like 6 feet away from the 3-point line and be like, "Oh, you're not going to guard me? Pop, done, shot."
His range is like ludicrous. It's like video game stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was, there's that confidence in his game, I think. The other part, everybody that hasn't considered it, Jason Tatum at 840 might be a good buy. And that's it for me.
I'm going to go with Ayo. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's like going to be the next Devin Vassell. I really
You heard it here first.
I just like his combination of everything and just how low his prices are. It just doesn't make sense to me, like how Tatum doesn't make sense to you. I think, yeah. This was fun. We spoke about high end, low end.
Yeah, and if you got a couple of bucks spare, go and get yourself an Obi Toppin. Why not? It's a good week. We've got 15 more teams to do. That's next week. But this is fun.
Yeah. Cheers, Ad. I appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, Russell. This is a good one. We'll we'll be back with more, and the season will be the real season will be underway very shortly. It's going to be exciting. Awesome. All right. Thanks everyone for sitting through the signal, the transmission areas as well at the end. That was fun. If you want the unabridged version, jump onto the socials. Spotify is where we're generally, isn't it?
We're on all podcast platforms.
Wherever you like to listen to your podcast, you can get us.
Deezer, Apple, Google, everything. We're all signed up for everything, Ed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, till next week. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.